Hey guys, I've been playing this again for I don't know, almost a week or so, um, and I've got a lot more experience and stuff in it now. I've done quite a bit of expeditions as all the roles, and I've done a couple of actual dungeons. I didn't realise that expeditions weren't quite dungeons. They are in the normal sense, so you got tank healer, DPS, and there's a team of 5 or 6, I can't remember, 5 I think, and bosses and loot and stuff. But out in the open world, you'll every so often stumble into um, sort of like blue highlighted um, like gateways and doors and stuff. And if then you can get your group, you go in there, they're, I'm assuming, somewhat randomly generated, and you get better loot. They're a bit harder in some cases, but generally speaking they're same format, but you can kind of take anyone you want, so there's no role specifications or anything. I mean, you could have a whole team of hybrid healer DPS or something if you wanted to, which I quite like the idea of being able to do that. I think guild I'm in at the moment has occasionally been running sort of like DPS tanks and things, so that's been good fun. But more to the point, I've learnt a lot more about doing healing in dungeons and things. So wrong button, there we go. So I've don't want to say discovered, but found that the wild staff, which is a druid weapon which you get from going down the hunter tree, and you get several variations, but generally speaking the main thing is you have low energy cost heal over times which stack, a channeled heal and energy restore, which makes a substantial amount of difference on certain DPS players. If you don't need to heal and they're low on energy, just hitting them with this, that restores nearly half of most players' energy, which is pretty good. This cleanse heal I can see being more of a PvP thing, or maybe specifically for certain very specific PvE environments. Doesn't really heal very much, but the debuff AoE cleanse would probably be pretty potent. And then this particular staff has a I'll get off my mouse so I can show you. It has an AoE which it just does that. It's quite a high cost, but it's big range and relatively low cooldown. So you hit that and AoE heal, and then you stack your heal over time on yourself, and job done. And as long as you keep up these three, you can remove it at the last second, and it restores an amount of energy if you cast the 4th time. So if you're good at micromanaging that kind of thing, it's pretty potent. I then came across this, I think it's a medium chest piece, Adept's Royal Jacket, which I think is, if I'm right, I think it's a medium one. It's this. So it's part of the leather set, and it's probably one of the strongest support buffs I found. I've tried various others. I mean, I've also attempted from a healing perspective to use the Guardian one, where you just stand near things and they do 60% less damage for 5 seconds, which, especially as a healer, can be the difference between keeping somebody alive or not. But in this case, this Royal Banner stays on you, so it follows you around, and it's quite a large area, and it basically increases attack speed and cast speed by, oh no, it's just attack speed, sorry, by 30%, but the cooldown of everybody's abilities is reduced by 50%, and it's not like a flat immediate, which is kind of what it suggests, like everybody's cooldown abilities go to 50% of what they currently are. It from experience, it seems to make them tick twice as fast. So because it lasts 7 seconds, it basically in 7 seconds lowers everything by 14 seconds. So as an example, let's find something with 15. Okay, so if I use this and then immediately hit this, you can see, like if I hit this as well, you can see that it's ticking down substantially fast. I mean, this is almost back already. That was half the time, and it's normally a 25-second cooldown. That was barely, 10 seconds or so. And it does seem to affect itself, and it stacks quite, which is kind of crazy. Me and a couple of guildmates were coincidentally running it at the same time, and we basically had no cooldown on our abilities. We were just constantly spamming everything we had. So that's the main of this. I've been trying to craft, level up my nature staff crafting, which is just basically grinding the crap out of pine trees and mass producing them. I've got a fair amount of resources and things now. I've just been kind of gathering everything up possible. If I see it, I pick it up pretty much, including getting the actual gathering sets and everything. And another key thing I've recently discovered, which is surprisingly hard to find, because they don't drop and you can't craft them as far as I'm aware, the capes, special ability based capes. So there's kind of like defensive PvE, offensive PvE, and then the 3 that I've got in my inventory at the moment, they seem to be the major ones. So for my healer, I've got, if I drop below 40% energy, I basically gain all of my energy back, which is absolutely incredible. That's been a really big issue for me in some cases, and you don't have to think about it, it just happens. And 2.5 minutes isn't actually that long, and you'll usually only ever run out of mana and energy in very specific circumstances. You'd have to be spamming just everything constantly to use up all of your energy, and you can even use your revitalize on yourself to give energy back, but kind of a waste of it, I suppose. And then so there are 2 other ones. You've got the Bridgewatch cape. This is one I use for my tank, so it creates a AoE damage reduction and slow for 50%, which is pretty ridiculous. It doesn't state how long it lasts, but it seems to last about 5 seconds. And that's just, you auto attack something and suddenly a massive tornado appears around them pretty much. And that just makes all the difference sometimes, especially if you have low energy or your abilities are on cooldown and it procs at the right time, and a boss is about to do a pretty heavy hit or something, then it's pretty game changing. And it is AoE as well, so it works against trash. In fact, I tend to I use the teleport ability on the boots, shield charge, and then that usually triggers, I usually immediately trigger the cape. And then the other pretty standard one is this, Mark of the Raven. It's basically press your E ability and suddenly your cast and attack speed go up by 50%, which is a little ridiculous on certain builds. I personally use a scythe, which does sort of every so many attacks you inflict a bleed, so attack speed is pretty broken with this. If you tie it in with Royal Banner at the same time, you can pretty much just double your attack speed for a few seconds, which is just fantastic. And yeah, that's kind of mostly what I've found. I've picked up this Raging Blink, which sounds like a more prominent DPS ability, but I often find if somebody's taking a lot of damage, I can just blink, do this, and then heal them with that, and they heal. 15% healing is quite substantial for a long period of time. So yeah, and I guess the last thing specifically to do with this, in a lot of games I found that there's kind of, when you're buffing healing and damage, some games do it where anything cast after the duration is affected, and some games do it where it changes everything persisting to and increases the amount for the duration. So an example of this would be, if I do this, it's healing 19 health a second, so I'll just get rid of it by spamming it a sec. Right, whereas if I do this, right, now it's going to run out now, but we're still being healed 21 health a second. So it's it affects everything for the full duration, which I realise is kind of broken with long channeled long duration abilities. So this is one of the main reasons I chose this set, is because the channeled heal and a channeled AoE, long duration AoE, if I blink and then do that and heal myself, okay, the effect's worn off, but it's, the heal's still ticking for more. So that can be kind of exploitable, I suppose. That's probably quite something that players may not be aware of, and it's quite important in some games, especially if you've got actually I've got the headpiece on at the moment. If you've got a poison, for instance, lasts 5 seconds, and you hit the poison on the last tick of your teleport ability, then it will influence the poison for the entire duration. So yeah, that's all I've got to say, I think. So I'll maybe record some more proper endgame dungeons and stuff at some point. Hey guys, I thought I'd start recording. I guess this is the kind of the midway through the dungeon, but I do ask my mates whether or not they wanted to do it. I'm playing as the healer in this particular one, which is what I mostly enjoy doing. And I've decided to get my tanking piece of equipment, so I've got a AoE 60% damage reduction, and I'm running the Druid Staff. Something I found particularly important with the Druid Staff is to only apply maximum stacks to someone if they lost the appropriate amount of health. So I kind of apply 1 stack if they've taken any damage, 2 stacks if they've down to like 75%, 80% of them health, and then any more than that I apply 3 stacks to them, and this generally seems to be, I guess, the most efficient way of doing it. And right here I'm using the Feeble War because there are a lot of grand enemies, attacks going everywhere, and they're pretty troublesome to deal with. I also have this tornado going off, which does the same effect, but it's on my cape, and it deals no damage, but it slows them and reduces their damage dealt by 50%, which is significant, especially being a healer. You just auto attack something and the enemies basically stop doing damage for a while. I do have a big AoE here as well, but it doesn't. I've not had to use it very much so far. Primarily, these enemies are quite easy to have close range AoEs. Oh, okay, so we're facing a dual boss by the looks of it. Got some random AoE. These guys don't really do much. Some bosses you're going to get spammed stuff all over the map, and it's a real pain to deal with. Okay, throw this down. So I used my blink ability to give me a 15% bonus here in short duration, which I don't. I mean, just having a teleport to start with is pretty powerful in this game. Being able to do it on a 20-second cooldown also increases your healing afterwards. If I do this, you just immediately it starts healing more. Oh, you can never have enough silver, I suppose. Something I found a lot of people do in dungeons is they tend to make self-sufficient builds, because they're used to running around soloing everything, which can be very problematic because they'll have self-heals and things like defensive abilities and stuff, which it's useful in these situations, but it's nothing compared to having, say, an extra damaging ability or something. So you'll I said in my last video that there's a medium jacket that increases everyone's attack speed by 30% and reduces cooldowns. And if you look, if I used it now, if one of us had it here, we'd be doing significantly more DPS, and all of our abilities would be coming off cooldown. Whereas we don't have it, so everyone's got to wait, and it doesn't benefit it, and benefits as much having whatever these guys are running. Not saying that what people have is bad, but if you had a full team of AoE team group buffs, the difference would be phenomenal. But in any case, we get through the dungeons pretty easily anyway. I know, I'd imagine some of the PvP builds would be pretty prominent in dungeons because of the amount of crowd control and self-sustain and burst damage. Not saying they would be as viable as a PvE build, but it would be interesting to see, say, a full team of like dual crossbow users all running in here with all their life stealing auras and no tanks, and you just kind of nuke something down in a few seconds. Oh, I didn't. You should be. Alright, no, there you go, self-healing. I'm just gonna do this. Also, players would generate quite a lot of health after fights. In fact, you can usually guarantee they'll... you can usually guarantee players are going to be genning like maybe 2 bars of their health. Oh, there it is. Slippery little things. Especially with the druid, having any ability that reduces the damage output of enemies is quite significant. So you don't necessarily heal as rapidly as we move. Sometimes this game has a habit of not letting me move. It's fun. Anyway, what was I going for? Yes, so the druid staff is kind of lacks in consistent burst healing. You can't really save anyone's life like you can with some of the holy staffs, for instance. So you know you have a lot of damage healing, but it's over a longer duration and it is more efficient than like the holy staff. But you have to be a lot more responsive with it to be able to effectively save people. That's an interesting ability. What's this stuff? I'll look into that. No, look at that time. Oh well. Fantastic. Just the ability I wanted to look at. God damn, that slow's insane. What? What did we need this help just go? Okay, this is insane. What do about that? I'm surprised he's not dead though.
Don't come back.
That's what I mean. This ability got interrupted almost as soon as I cast it, and it couldn't really do anything about it. As soon as that's down, that's pretty much all of my as soon as that ability's down, that's pretty much it. I can't heal people enough. He does 700 damage. It's ridiculous. Still running. I'm just gonna pop the SS through the time. Okay. Alright, I haven't faced this one before, so I'm just gonna roll with. This is a very, very, very tricky one. Oh, I should have waited. Okay, he's crap. Yeah, you could move, man. Hopefully that helped. That's gonna okay, teleport to increase the healing.
We are not afraid.
Okay, wow. Yeah, gotta make sure that never gets interrupted. And I should have waited an extra couple of seconds before using this. Looks like this boss has an enraged timer that you have to run around a lot for, so that was an entertaining experience. Goodness me. And that was pretty tricky. Did I get this one? So now there's nothing I can do until this comes back. And it is a problem, but as long as you effectively maintain your hero over time, it's not so bad. Where are we heading? This way, I guess. Did he just teleport? I guess I'm lagging. Oh, alright, they didn't last very long. do this. Just no damage. Just regen that. It's absolutely insane. If you hit targets with the cape effect and that, they pretty much go down to a 99% damage reduction. I'm sure there's a cap, but you know. Sometimes it's good to preemptively put a massive AoE hero down. In fact, I should probably be doing that to start with. I also haven't yet started using potions or food, which I should. But it's not really. I guess we're not doing these as seriously as we will. One problem I do have with using this particular cape is it triggers on normal attacks, but I also have the debuff maximum health on my auto attacks from the chest piece, which is obviously something I want to keep up, as, you know, reduces their maximum health substantially. I didn't need to heal that with that there, but whatever. Because yeah, that was the boss. See, for this now I can use it and get a tornado. I think it takes taking him out of the area, but yeah, this looks like another relative damage. I think I've done this one before. Yeah, I think so. There's lots of enemies around. Fortunately, they're static this time. This is the kind of boss where if people don't correctly dodge, they can get themselves killed. Right, that was unfortunate. Sorry, I missed the AoE. Oh, there you go. I am new to this, so I'm not 100% sure what all of this is. I'm assuming this. Oh, that's part of a ice staff. Okay. Cool. And lots of silver. Awesome. And I do enjoy this, especially. I mean, if things like that didn't happen, this would be a very boring game. I'm used to going through dungeons on like World of Warcraft and Star Wars: The Old Republic and stuff, where you just end up running through it with no issue at all. Nobody dies. Nobody even drops back half health or something. It's like, well, you know, I enjoy healing people, but it'd be nice if I actually had to. Yeah, that's even on raids sometimes it's like that. But I'm hoping this game's quite different, which is nice. I'm hoping to maximise my build here, trying and get all tier 5 stuff at the very least. I'm currently working on crafting better nature stuff, so once I can do that, then I'll craft my own tier 5 and 5.3 nature stuff, so that's the plan anyway. Cool.